Abandoned Albums receives funding from its Patreon community. If you'd like to become a member and support what we do here and other independent creators, please visit patreon.com/abandonedalbums.
Permit me here and now to promise as a good comrade and a fellow artist that I will not report any of this, whatever it is, to the police.
Welcome to Abandoned Albums, the documentary podcast. Each week, our intrepid group of researchers and music archivists dig through the record crates of the world, finding those albums that may have been lost over time. If a new artist is discovered along the way, that's all the better. Using a patent-pending algorithm and spirited debate, we pick one album to discuss. Once that is settled, we will invite the artists to Thunderlove Studio to chat with your host, Keith R. Higgins. When we're lucky, they say yes. Our mission with Abandoned Albums is simple: to make sure artists' recorded work remains, or in some cases, lands on, the cultural radar. We invite you to sit back and relax. Thank you for joining us.
On this episode, we welcome Eric and Christian from Wisconsin's own The Flavor That Kills. Imagine if you took the Talking Heads, mixed in a little of the Tragically Hip, mixed in some Midwestern soul and punk rock, and blended it all together. Of course, that's an oversimplification, but that's a rough idea of what The Flavor That Kills sound like to me. The word that springs immediately to mind is eclectic. The three of us got the chance to talk about a whole bunch of things, including their spectacular new album, Secrits. Here's my conversation with Eric and Christian from The Flavor That Kills.
It's just the normal noises in here.
Well, thank you guys. It's really nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
You.
You got a cool podcast, and I like the fact that you started it off that Broken Homes album, which I actually didn't know about until you did your thing. So.
Really? Oh, that it's still one of my favorite records. I just got goosebumps. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for listening. It's just phenomenal record. I've had Jimmy on a couple of times, and I've had Jeff Irick, the producer, on a couple of times. On to you guys. Christian, Eric, can you take us through? Well, first of all, I went on your Facebook, and I'm like, all right, I got to find out about The Flavor That Kills. Who's responsible for writing Ain't No Thang?
That would be our singer, Ryan Corcoran. he is off the rails, sweetest guy I know in the world, and also maybe one of the just craziest genuine people. And he's just one of those guys that you just don't know what he's going to do and when he's going to do it. And like more than half the time it's genius, and the other half of the time it's a train wreck, but it's fun to watch.
So searing words. So I don't know anything about you guys. So Christian, Eric, what do you guys play respectively, and who else is in the band?
Yeah, we're the rhythm section. We're the engine of the ship that drives the flavor that kills. So I play drums, and Christian plays bass. And then, as I was talking about Ryan Corcoran, he's the singer and guitar player. And then we have a second guitar player, Educational Davis, or E. Davis. He has a different name every week, but we go by he goes by Educational Davis. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the band. The band really started with Ryan and Christian. Well, I'll let you tell that story, Christian,
Yeah.
because that was the infancy of that band. Or this band.
Yeah, so we were been band friends forever. Like my old band, Screamin' Simpson and the Ponds, and his band, Awesome Car Funmaker, were just kind of, we were in our 20s and just, best band buddies, right? And I think his band, well, at the end of his sort of band's tenure or their existence, they had me start playing bass with them just to finish up a few commitments that they had on the books. And we just got talking. It's like, hey, well, now that this thing is fizzling out, why don't we do something? And we called it Lake Delton because it was after a big flood event in this area where like a lake drained in the Dells, in Wisconsin Dells.
Wow.
And for some reason, that's what the name we selected. And I played with that for a few months or maybe better part of a year. And then I had a baby on the way, and I was like in 4 or 5 different projects, and I had to scale back.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of just petered out just because of busyness. I don't even think we ever had a conversation said, oh, I think I'm going to stop. I think it just kind of was like just waning frequency, right?
Yeah.
And then let's see. It kind of, I don't know. Let's see. The drummer of that band went to like dental school or something like that. And then Eric got in the mix, and Eric knows Ryan through that same Awesome Car Funmaker band,
Okay.
where you guys actually, you produced one of their records, right,
Well,
Eric?
I had a record label back in the
Oh, really?
2000s, yeah, called Shortwave Records, which I've just revamped. I put this out on my label. We had a big distribution deal through Red Eye, and we primarily focused on local bands and stuff. But we did some national stuff. We did some stuff with Thrill Jockey and some other labels too. But so we put out Ryan's album, and I was breaking up with a band called Hum Machine that I was in, and Ryan and I were just talking about starting a new project, and he said, "Oh, I got this Lake Delton thing, I'm working on with Christian. Maybe we could turn that into something." And that's kind of how the band started. And then it's morphed to quite a different place than it started. If you listen to, we have a couple earlier albums, they're a little bit more funk soul, type of stuff. We have a Rhodes piano player that was kind of our choice, to start with. That was Christian's friend, and then this album, right before the pandemic, we switched gears a little bit and wanted to add another guitarist. And that's, right before the pandemic where this album really got its origins and start.
Okay.
And I don't know if adding the second guitar player or the pandemic or everything together just created this kind of angst and chaos and this like collage of just, our lives being turned upside down.
Yeah.
But it really morphed into like almost, well, in some ways a really beautiful thing, but in other ways kind of a scary thing. And we just kind of wrote it, we didn't try to change what it was turning into. And when we started recording this album, Christian and I were actually doing it over the pandemic. We had masks on everything, and we're in the studio and we're doing it on like 1-inch tape, and it was just, and it didn't feel like it was going anywhere. It just didn't feel right. We were trying though. I mean, we were really trying to get it started. and we just kind of put a pause on it. And after everything settled down, we came back kind of with a vengeance. And we brought we're friends with Bo Sorensen, who's done quite a bit of work on a lot of records from Death Cab to Cutie to Sparkle Horse to
Yeah.
Bob Mould to Super Chunk,
Wow.
He's a professional, but he's also a friend of ours who got his start at Smart Studios in Madison. And we called him, and he was coming into town to do some other stuff. And there was a studio in town called Coney Island, and we got some time there to reserve it. And we just kind of went in there and started banging this stuff out. And I don't think any of us were really sure what was going to come of it. It's kind of started turning into something. And then we realized, like, okay, I think we really have a good record here. Let's get serious about it. So we started spending more time on it then, and that's what it's kind of what it turned out to. But it really is just it's, if it sounds a little chaotic, is because the whole time we were going through stuff was chaotic, and even writing the songs, Christian usually comes up with the riff, and then me and Christian work on that for a little bit, and then Ryan and Educational Davis add their kind of guitar parts, and then Ryan puts the vocals on. That's the last piece that kind of comes together. So it's kind of just built from the ground up.
Yeah, I was listening to say for you, Pablo's Hippos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your songs they're great. They're a little cheeky. There's a little innuendo.
It's a lot of innuendo.
Yeah. Nothing but innuendo.
Yeah. And then I love Pablo's Hippos. I'm like, when I saw that title, I'm like, oh, I get it. That's funny. I mean, if you know the story,
yeah,
funny.
Well, that was kind of like the name, The Flavor That Kills, was just, I think we all played in a lot of bands growing up, and we're like, it's so hard to name a new band. And we had a bunch of names, and then I think it was just a big joke, like The Flavor That Kills. And I think we thought it was funny enough that it was kind of like, God, that's a stupid name, but at the same time, it's kind of a cool name, No one has it. And then so we named Pablo's Hippos a little bit after that, because then we started talking about how they were trying to make hippopotamus burgers and stuff like that, and because they had all these hippos in Colombia. I'm serious. That's like there's weird stories about that, and that's just kind of how we got the Pablo's Hippos. And
Jane, what can you tell me about this man you saw last night?
He's Caucasian.
Caucasian?
Yeah, a white guy. With a mustache, about 6'3".
An awfully big mustache.
We're a lot of tongue-in-cheek band, I think, but at the same time, I think we've all played quite a bit. We have quite a bit of experience touring and putting out records in other bands. That, I mean, there's a serious side to us too.
Now, Christian, when you guys write a song, do you and Eric hash out the melody, I suppose, and then you kick it over to, do you write together, I guess is what I'm asking. Do you guys like all sit in a room and be like, all right, let's do this? And
generally, yeah, I'd say, I mean, sometimes I get like little motifs stuck in my head, and because I'm osmosing something, right, that I'm listening to, and it just kind of comes out, or just something random, just a new finger shape on the bass. And then we just start playing something, and then it's honestly, the guitar players take forever to set up because they got so many pedals.
Longer than the drummer?
Oh, way longer.
In our, yeah, well, I mean, like, in our practice space, the drums are just sitting there ready to go, right? Yeah. So I just pretty much plug in a couple things and I'm ready. And these guys are fiddling around, and it never is working quite right at first. And so there's a lot of time to just like start noodling, and then there's usually, sometimes out of the ether comes an idea, and then we'll do it, and then those guys are ready to go, and they just pop on and put icing on the cake, right?
A lot of the times, Christian and I, during that brief time, will kind of scope out the song and have the kind of the basic structure figured out, because those guys take so damn long to get their shit together, because they got all these pedals, and they're always, I don't know. They're really unique people. I got to tell you, being a rhythm section with Christian is, it's a godsend to play in a good rhythm section, because we both truly believe in like the philosophy of a rhythm section in a band,
Which
and
is?
well, the philosophy is that it really has to. It's kind of the glue, not only the glue that holds everything together, but it creates like the basis of the backbeat and the underlying melody that's going to like that will get people up and dance or get people up and that initial emotional feeling be like, oh, I feel that, you know. Well, that's the rhythm section. You know, these guitar players, they come in, they could do whatever they want if they have a great rhythm section. They could just they have this freedom that allows them to kind of experiment and explore, but you have to have that basis of a great rhythm section to do that. And you know, go through bands in the history, and you could see that in the great bands that they have. I'm not comparing us to them. I'm just saying our philosophy is like that's what we believe. Christian, I truly believe that that's really important. Like we live it, you know, like with the music we listen to and just our attitudes and stuff. So they're lucky that we're the rhythm section. I'll tell you that because they wouldn't be able to survive without us.
I hope they hear that. And
Well,
and I will tell you, mission accomplished, because I was listening earlier. I had it playing on my computer, and I was boogieing around. And I don't dance. I was just like, oh, this is really good.
I don't think that's our goal, is it, Christian? I think we're just like
I was moving.
I know it's just I don't know. It's a really unique band. I have to say, it really does just kind of things just kind of happen. You know, I don't know. I hope they continue to happen for a long time, but I mean, they just really just kind of happen. We don't. It doesn't seem like we put much effort into like trying to do stuff. It just if we can get in the same room together, we can do it. You know, like we can make it happen.
Well, I think that it's just like not a lot of rules, right? And that's the whole point. Like we're not don't have a architect behind everything. My goal, again, with the rhythm section sort of mentality, is sometimes when those guys want to workshop like a guitar riff on top of whatever we're playing, I want to be the last one to stop. Like I'll just play 20 minutes, 3 hours, 2 days. I don't care. I just want to like challenge myself and see if I can just stay in a pocket that long and just let them do whatever. Right. But, I think if you listen to a lot of like the low end of the stuff that we've done, I mean, it's not a lot of simple bass line in terms of just like on a quarter, you know, the same note or something like that. So I try to like put something that has a little bit of melody in it as well, like a hook at the bottom, right? So that's just kind of where my brain is. I'm a melody person personally.
Sure.
So I never remember lyrics. I find out what Ryan's singing on this stuff like 5 years later, and I'm like, oh, okay.
When you just said a moment ago, no rules, and I think that's one of the things that I hear in your music is there are no rules, because I hear some Chicago soul, I hear bare bones rock and roll, I hear some punk, I hear so much going on in these tight little songs. They're which I just love. Who would you guys list, either one, both, as your major influences as a band? I suppose everyone has their own individual, but
that's pretty eclectic as a band. I think that's why that no rules thing works. I mean, like Educational Davis likes Bo Diddley and Van Halen and
he's
stuff.
into like goth too, right?
And he's into like Bauhaus and Joy Division and The Cure and stuff like that. And Ryan, I don't think Ryan could listen. I've driven with Ryan, like we went to a football game, like a Packers game, and I made him a bet that he couldn't listen to one song from start to finish, and he couldn't do it. I don't think he has the attention span to listen to a song all the way through. And he listens to pretty much a lot of stuff. But I talked to Ryan about this, and he really listened for whatever reason. He got like into this mode of listening to a lot of Canadian music from like the Tragically Hip and stuff like that, like in that time period. And what's that? My sister, there's some other band they listen to, but there's a whole bunch of bands like in that time period, those Canadian, like kind of alternative pop bands, great bands, right? And he like kind of got into all that stuff. And so he spent a lot of time listening to that. And that he says that kind of shaped a little bit of like, what he does. And I don't know, Christian and I always talk about like stuff like Curtis Mayfield, Herbie Hancock, and old soul music, the Wrecking Crew. We talk about those guys a lot. I'm a big jazz guy, 60s jazz, Joe Henderson, John Coltrane, stuff like that. But I grew up on punk rock though. So I don't know, Christian, what did you grow up on?
It depends, right? Like it's kind of eras and whatnot. I grew up playing. All right, parents are listening to a lot of 70s music, a lot of Allman Brothers and rock and roll from that era, classic rock. So that's in there. But then I'm doing piano lessons and I'm doing classical, so I've listened to a lot of classical growing up, and I played cello, so I listened to all that. But also was taking jazz lessons, so a lot of jazz. But I'm talking about like formative years. And then being a kid growing up in the 90s, have all the grunge music and all the 90s music that I was listening to. But honestly, I try to listen to just weird stuff. I'm just very curious. I don't even try. I just get curious. I go down Wikipedia rabbit holes. I want to know who like played bass on this and who was the drummer on that.
What was the first record you guys bought each?
I bought Kiss with my dad. My dad used to take me to record stores in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And he was kind of a stereo guy, and listened to a lot of records. And when he was old enough, maybe 10 or 11, he used to take me with him. And these were record stores when they had head shops in the back and stuff like that,
Yeah.
And because like the late 70s or early 80s or 80s, early 80s. And I would buy, and he let me pick out a record. And the first one I picked out was Kiss. Like, why wouldn't a 11-year-old pick out Kiss, right? So, yeah, I got Kiss. And he let me get it, which was great. So I think it was the debut album. And then I got the Peter Criss solo album or something. So that was the first actual like vinyl record I bought. And I like would go, that I bought for me. That wasn't his record, that I went home and I'd listen to. So that was my first one. I still got it.
You still got it? You still got the Peter?
Got it. Yeah,
I got mine too.
Yeah. I'll never get rid of it ever.
Yeah. Although I've never played the Peter Criss one. I've only played the Ace Frehley one.
Yeah. And I got Peter Criss because I was a drummer even early on. So I was like, yeah, I'll get it. But it sucked.
Christian?
I bought Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses on tape at Mad City Music Exchange.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I think mine was Steve Miller Band.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
There you go. Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Is he from Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
His like dad was friends with Les Paul.
That I knew.
So, yeah, and which is Waukesha, where Eric's from.
Steve Miller, Boss Skaggs.
Yeah.
Wisconsin people. Yeah. They still do shows once in a while here. Those
do
two.
They?
Yeah.
I love Steve Miller. I love cantankerous, cranky rock stars like John Mellencamp and like Steve Miller. And
yeah, I grew up on Steve Miller because that was one of the people my dad listened to. So I grew up on a lot of Steve Miller and a little bit of Pink Floyd and a little bit of Led Zeppelin and a tiny little bit of Rush, which I really, really grasped onto, and a lot of Jimi Hendrix and a lot of psychedelic rock from the 60s.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix and Pink Floyd for sure in my house growing up. Yeah. And Band of Gypsies, especially. I don't know. That was on all the time when I was a kid.
Hey, man, remember the good old days? War, protest.
Going to jail.
Well, man, we found this new album called Freedom Rock. It's got all those great songs we used to groove to back then. Just listen.
How do you guys handle creative differences? Do you guys go throw fisticuffs? Do you drink it out? How?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if we do we really have them, Christian? I mean, it's just such a smorgasbord of like stuff. I think like for us, I mean, so there's a song on the album called Snakes, right? Which kind of breaks up a little bit in the bridge and kind of like has like a little metalish thing to it. That's an example of like I was listening to a lot of Iron Maiden at the time for whatever reason. Like this song, I like this song, and all of a sudden I was like, I don't know, I was just talking, I'm like, we should do like some sort of metal thing here. It's like Christian's like has a little line and Educational Davis comes up with a little guitar line. I'm like, let's like, like bah, 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 like get that like, and it was just because what I was listening to at the time. And there was like, it's a good example of just like taking a song that was going somewhere and just like having it do a 180, but there wasn't any argument about it. We were just like, okay, let's see where it goes. And everybody was just in it, to try to figure it out. So I think a lot of stuff is like that. I don't think we really, I don't know. Do you think we have any Christian?
I don't know. I feel like it's pretty free form, and I don't know. I feel like people feel comfortable about, I don't know. It's just like you put out these ideas and everybody feels comfortable putting feedback on it, if they want it to go a different way, and eventually it just settles. I don't know. But does it ever get heated? No, I think we just like play things until it like everybody's
on board.
Yeah, or just like it's almost like not even like a verbal thing. It's just, okay, we played it for 30 times and that time was it. And everybody's like, that's it. It's like, I don't know, the spirit talked through it and was like, yep, I'm done. What does this song want to be? I don't know.
Oh, Lord.
I don't know.
Not of the World has considerably more streams than the other tracks.
Yeah. Well, it was, first of all, that was the first one we put out, and we put it out really early. So it's been out almost probably almost 8 months before the album even came out. It was the first single we had. I'll tell you what happened. If you look at Spotify and it's so high on Spotify, I'll tell you exactly what happened with it. Spotify has a new thing they've been doing called discovery mode. And it's like this, it's in beta right now. So I don't know if bands know about it or not. They should. If you don't know about it in your band, you should know about it. You have to get to 5,000 streams or something in order for it to kick in. So, that song got there eventually. And once it did, it was the first song. It was very early on when they were doing this. You can put it in this what's called discovery mode, and what they do is they put it on playlists, and they kind of help kind of try to pump it up for like little indie artists or whatever.
Sure.
Well, it got like on all these algorithms and these like Spotify radio list, and it just like shot up like crazy. And it kept doing it. It's still doing it right now. I just looked today and it's still going higher. And I'm like, God, this song just won't die, you know?
Great.
But it's only on Spotify, that song, that it's doing that. And it's because of that, it must have hit this algorithm with this new discovery mode that they're doing.
Okay.
So it's great. The only problem with the whole thing is that it's nice because they get a song like kind of try to help you get discovered, but they also take your money before you get it. So, so like they'll do that. And then if you look at your like, you look at your stats, like on whatever distribution you use, like DistroKid or CD Baby,
Yeah.
they'll have you can have negative on it if you're in that, because Spotify will take money out before you get paid. So it's not a lot. It's kind of I don't know. We're just kind of learning about this stuff, but that's exactly what happened with it.
Okay.
And it still is probably the most popular song.
Before I address the spelling of the title of the album, what's going on with Furburger? What's going on there, guys?
In what the title, the song, or what?
Let's go to the title. Let's start there.
So Furburger was from a interview that Robert Johnson did early on at some point, and he talked.
Blues guitar player Robert Johnson.
Correct.
Devil in the Crossroads.
Yep, and there's an early interview. That's where I heard the term first from him, from his lips, in some old interview that you could barely hear. Talk about something to the effect of like, yeah, you got to get the Furburger, the Furburgers or something. And he's obviously joking around, most likely, about women or something to that effect. I don't know for
Safe
sure.
Bet.
That's my guess. If you know the history, that's my guess. He's also the person that said when you go to when he went to a show, he tried to find a more robust woman in at the show, that because he knew that he would have a place to stay and he would get fed. Again, these are his words, not mine. But I love some of his old interviews. They may be like, in modern days time, we're talking, they may not have the connotations, but we're talking about in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
So when you put it in that context, it's a different world, right? So
Totally.
But that term came from that. Now, the song has nothing to do with that.
What is the song about? I don't even know.
Ryan turned the song into something totally different, but we kept that name. So, to Ryan, I think his term of Furburger is people being burned and eaten alive, by.
When has that ever happened? When has somebody been burned and eaten alive?
Yeah, well,
Does that happen?
there's an underlying theme. Or eaten alive and then burned. I don't know. There's an underlying theme of like with this record, and it comes from just us being into like extraterrestrial stuff and stuff in human civilization. But there's an underlying theme of this record for sure. It has to do with two things, and one of them is kind of the destruction of civilization, and the other one is Ryan truly believes he was abducted, and I'm not going to dispute that from anybody. And there were some struggles that he went through when he was, we're doing this record, just personal struggles that he's pretty open about. And that's kind of part of the lyrics. But so all that coming together, I think it's like Furburger to him was like the destruction of people being burned. He like says Wapatui, it's like a bomb coming down, nuclear war. So it has a little different context than the original term that we used, I think.
See, now that's what's going back to what I said earlier. That's what's missing, is like I would love to have read those lyrics as I'm listening to the song.
Well, we're going to send you a copy of the record, and
okay, cool.
And you're going to be able to read the lyrics, and you're also going to be able to see a lot of other stuff in there that's going to tell a story.
Awesome. I know there's a way you can read lyrics on Spotify, but for the life of me, can't figure it out. It's not easy.
They're on, I think they're all on Apple Music and Bandcamp, but I don't know how to get them on Spotify, to be honest with you. I think there's some other way, but I haven't figured it out.
They're on Bandcamp. I did check out because I checked
Yeah,
out
I
your
put them
Bandcamp.
up there. They should be up there. But I'm going to send you the vinyl is much different than the online record. It's a different sequence, and it's kind of a concept. It tells a story from start to end.
Okay.
Online, we changed the sequence a little bit. So it really kind of, this was set up to be a vinyl release.
Okay.
We just changed things because online stuff is different. So, we made it work, but
Then why Secrits? Why the
Christian,
deliberate?
Ryan found a backpack or something on the side of the road or at St. Vinny's, and it had notes from a girl, and it had basically, it just had like some personal notes about who she had crushes on and stuff. And
Is that Ryan, the lead singer? Ryan?
Yeah.
That's our repurposed version.
We took the original version and we made it, we made it a little different, but
sure.
But for the intents and purposes, it really is kind of like this. It said like Annie's Book of Secrets, and she misspelled it. Whatever girl this was that he found this, she misspelled secrets, so he just kept it as a misspelling.
Yeah.
And then it starts off as a nice little sweet like thing, and then on the back it gets really, really. This is what it said. It gets really scary, and we're like, oh my gosh.
It really said that from the little girl?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Can you read that to us?
Well, it's on the back. It said who I will kill, and then it said me on the thing.
That's dark.
Yeah, it got very dark, and we were like, oh my gosh. And at the time, we didn't have a name. We were trying to figure out a good name for the record. So that always just kind of was hanging there when we were recording. We had a bunch of names, and we're like, I think that's the name.
It's a great name, and it's a great story. And I don't know, you said I have a dark, twisted mind, a backpack on the side of the road, and then it's got this little girl's writing, and it's like, Jesus, I hope nothing happened to her,
Yeah, we don't know. We credited her in the album, and I mean, if she ever finds out, we'd love to talk to her. But I mean, it's just probably something was it a backpack, or was it at like a Dig and Save or like a St. Vinny's or something?
I can't remember.
I don't know where he found it, but wherever he found it. And Ryan, he's great. He'll see something on the side of the road and he'll grab it and he'll try to build something out of it or make some contraption. So he brings stuff all the time into practice from all over the place. He's like, look at this, look what I got out of this.
Yeah. Remember those brown furry pants that he found on the side of the road?
He came with like furry pants in practice one day, and it's just every day it's like something different.
You know what my favorite thing was, that in his boat, he had a disc envelope or whatever, a bunch of burned discs that he had found on the side of the road. And we're in the middle of the lake here in Madison, and he puts a CD on and it says trap music, and we're like cruising around in this boat and listening to trap music that he found on the side of the road. So
how do we define trap music?
Southern hip hop.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's an actual genre.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm looking at the drawings, the art for Nerve and Not of This World. Who's responsible for that? I think that's very cool. Who did the artwork?
My wife, Claire Kellesvig, did the artwork for it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I really like it.
She did, the album cover is like a collage, and part of it's her drawing, and then it's like a bunch of old cutouts from like 70s magazines and like Playboys and stuff like that. I think you see that like in the Book of Secrets, you can make out, hey, those are the two O's from a Cool ad, right? Cool cigarettes.
Yes.
So, but I like it because it kind of pulls everything together in sort of a collage. And I think that has, kind of the scrapbook nature of a little girl's musings or her crushes or like internal dialogue kind of has that, and then there's like just all the songs that come together, and it's just kind of all kind of collagey, right? And I like that. It's like finding all these found objects or stitching all this stuff together and giving it cohesion. And I think that's kind of, I don't know. I mean, we started recording this, and Eric and I kind of busted through the rhythm stuff, and then just keep working on everything else, right? And putting the overdubs on, and had a lot of time in the studio. And then when we did so many tracks that we were thought might be garbage, right? Like there's weird noises on stuff. There's synth noises. Ryan had his drill out and was, making noise with the pedals and his guitar and whatnot. And then that's where Bo comes in, who's, got a production credit and was the engineer on the record, and said, hey, take all this stuff and make something out of it. And when it started coming back track by track, it was like Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And that's the same thing with the artwork. He'd tell my wife, I was like, hey, we want to help us out with this record cover. And I don't know, we have a new baby, or did at the time. And it was like, okay, I'm just take the baby out for like a day and just let you just do this. And it was the same thing. It was like opening a Christmas present when I got home and showing it to the guys, and everybody's like, whoa, that's a record cover. Damn it.
And Claire is an accomplished artist.
Mm-hmm. It's like her profession.
We didn't just ask, it's not like just asking someone to do it. It was like trying to could you do a record cover, please? Maybe,
Please, it's just us, just lonely little us.
Yeah. We didn't know. None of us knew what it was going to look like. She had I had no idea. I didn't know there was going to be naked people on the cover.
Yeah.
And, I love it. And we talked about it. We're like, it's great. And like Claire said, it's okay to be sexy sometimes.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it. Right. Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's great artwork. And what I like about it, and please tell Claire this if you feel so inclined, is it's seemingly simple. The card for what is it? For Nerve, right? It's seemingly simple, but it can't be that simple unless you have a background knowledge of everything that came before it. So you can filter all of that out and to make it something simple. So I have the utmost respect for people that can do that and do it well. So I like art. Are you guys familiar? One thing I've been doing for the past few episodes, I think it's kind of fun, is I'm a big fan of AI. I don't think it's awful. I don't. And so one thing I've been doing is I will go and I will say, all right, give me questions in the voice of Lester Bangs. Do you know who Lester Bangs is? Very famous rock critic. He was played by what was his name? He was in that movie, Cameron Crowe movie with the plane about the rock band.
Almost Famous?
Almost Famous. Philip Seymour Hoffman played Lester Bangs.
Yep.
Okay. He had a very unique style in the way he wrote and his flair for the vernacular. So I punched up some questions for you guys in the voice of Lester Bangs. What the hell's that?
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I don't know what that is.
I was like, that's AI? That's Lester Bangs?
That's my
like Credence.
That's my computer going crazy here. Sorry.
We can edit that out, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
No, keep it in.
Well, we'll see how it flows.
And we're back.
And we're back.
I thought there was a Lester Bangs thing coming. I was like, oh, here he is. And I was like, what's going on?
That's what I was like.
Awful.
All right, so this is again in the voice of Lester. I won't do his voice, but this is how he might have asked you the following question. Influences are the backbone of rock. Who do you tip your hat to when the lights go down?
Me?
Well, give me a couple artists.
Herbie Hancock for sure for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's who I tip my hat on. I love everything he does and everything about him. That's the first person comes to my mind.
I like people that what do you call it? Manifest their lives through their art, and they just say, "This is just what I do," right? And some people, like Dead Moon out of Oregon or out of Portland, or like the Melvins or like Iggy Pop, just people that are unabashed and just say, "I'm manifesting my life," and maybe they don't say this, but this is what they do, right? They just like, this is what I do, and I'm inextricably linked to this thing. Dead Moon was this there was like a couple in the band, and the guy was in all these original like garage rock bands, and it was a 3-piece, and all their records are so dirty sounding, but the heart is just there, and they're, you know, just one of those things where you watch people do things and you know that they don't give a shit about money. It's just what they do. I don't know. People like that are I don't know, just weirdos that manifest their art.
Well, staying true to your vision is important.
Or maybe not even being, what do you call it? Cognizant of your vision. Like your vision is just so embedded in you that you can't even see it, right? You're just doing it. And I don't know. I just think that's cool.
Let's see. I've got a whole bunch. Let's see. What's the grittiest pickle you've been in as a band, and how'd you claw your way out?
Christian,
I see a smirk on Christian's face.
Yeah,
like
Christian,
he has an idea.
I can go a few places with this. I feel like grittiest pickle. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you. Here you go. We had a moment when we had to say goodbye to one member, and then we had a few guitar players that came through, right? And a good friend of ours was supposed to play this festival with us as a guitar player, and he's, you know, been in bands forever, all these Madison bands, but he was having some issues and ended up not making the gig. So we played 3 people at our other friends' like festival. It's kind of like a lowdown or, you know, casual festival in a farm field called Shady Grove. And that's where we picked up Educational Davis, because he's the guy that would always be at our shows and just hanging out. Like the guy's at every show and is always playing music. It's amazing. He's probably in like 7 bands. But anyways, we show up to this gig. We're missing number 4. We're only 3. We're trying to get by. And lo and behold, Educational Davis is like, I'll play. Screw it. I know all your songs. I come to all your shows. So that might be the grittiest pickle. And it's the pickle that has been with us since. So
that's how you clawed your way out. That's great.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
The music biz is a beast that's always shedding skin. Streaming, socials, the works. How are you guys hustling to keep up? Because it is a fucking hustle. In this day and age, it's a fucking hustle.
Yeah, it's different. It's different times. It's a hustle. I'll tell you, I believe the most talent right now lies within the local music scenes by far.
How do we channel into that? Because I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah. So there's a good thing and a bad thing, right? That's happening. The good thing is now a local band can get their music out to everybody in the world. The bad thing is there's so much stuff out there that how are you going to get people to discover and listen to it? And the major labels are just funneling down a soulless depth to the Mariana Trench of like nothingness right now.
Well, they've been co-opted by Wall Street.
They have, and it's just and there's zero investment in artists, discovery, talent. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's not a thing. It's gone.
No, it's not.
It's gone. And that's why I think like in the local music scenes, that still exists. So I think the music industry as a whole is in a real interesting place right now. And if we can find a way to tap into these, and I know we got a great scene in Madison and Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now, but there are scenes like this all over the United States and in England and all over the world right now happening, where there are these great local scenes developing because they have these outlets, they have distribution now, everybody can hear them, but it's hard for them to kind of get up on top of, even some of the indie labels like Merge and Sub Pop are having a hard time. I imagine. I think this is what I think needs to happen. I think we need this huge like push of local record companies starting labels and bands, getting together and starting local record labels like the old punk rock days, like the old jazz days, right?
Mm-hmm.
These really strong, healthy, artistic, creative labels of the local music scenes. And then I'm hoping that people will grasp onto those labels and discover more of these bands, and I'm trying to do it myself with this. We put it out on our own label. We're signing more. We're going to put more records out on our label, more local music from Wisconsin, good bands, great bands, and we're going to keep trying to do that to try to foster this and hopefully this great creativity that we all have that has been stomped down and doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know. It's an interesting time. I know that. I hope that we get through this and something great comes from it, though.
Well, I think that, that if you're asking about how we hustle, right? Like one thing that's weird is I haven't been, I don't know, touring or doing anything of that serious nature, if I ever have. But even back in the day, what would we do? Put out a record and just try to tour and touch enough people, maybe do like a few festivals, go down to South by Southwest, get on some showcases, stuff like that. It seems like that equation is kind of void and null now in some ways, right? In terms of monetary or whatever gain and distributing yourself, right? But I know Eric's been hustling, trying to get the skateboarders to put our music on their little what do you call it?
One
reels.
One thing I've been doing is, I don't know, I've been trying to be a little bit more creative about how to get the music out there.
Huh.
I've been reaching out to like Instagram influencers. Like we're working with two right now. One of them is a skateboarding group from Europe who's great. Euroskater Clips. They're awesome. And they took each song of our record and they've been using it on these like really cool just skateboarding clips. And the other one is we just signed a thing with some of the soccer people in Europe, and like they just did a clip with Lionel Messi with one of our songs, and so we're trying to like see if like getting the music out that way. I'll tell you, we've got like over 1 million views on some of that stuff. So as far as like increasing the audience, it's been really good for us, and I think they like our record because it translates well to what they're doing. So that's just one example of like trying to think a little outside the box of how to do something a little different that maybe didn't exist before. And for bands like us, it's a little upfront cost, but then you make some money too, so it's kind of it's a good way to do it. But we're just I'm kind of relearning stuff. I did run a label and I did a lot of stuff previously, but I don't know anything now the way stuff is. I mean, when I was doing that, I think I don't even know if that was 2000. That was probably 96 to 2006. I don't even know if Facebook was even around then or whatever. And that's not even a good thing right now. People don't even listen to it, or watch it or do it. So
I feel that. I mean, I don't know how one does it. I spoke to Paul Mahern a while ago, and he said a lot of what you're saying in that, like the TikTok, what am I, 90? TikTok, reels.
Yeah.
He goes, that's where the most exciting music is taking place, on TikTok and through these reels. So that's a great place to be.
Yeah, I think that's the place you need to be. I think you need to find the right people that work for your band, and we're fortunate enough that we have some great people. In fact, the skater guys they're doing a album giveaway. They're giving away some of our albums to people in their community. Some of the younger skateboarders, So I mean, they're doing cool stuff. It's not just that, but we're trying to like actually, be connected to the community too.
Yeah.
So hopefully, that gets some more people to listen, because that's really what it's all about, just trying to get as many people to listen as you can.
What about live performances?
We play a lot in Madison, and we're going to start playing in Milwaukee and Minneapolis and Chicago in the Midwest. But I mean, it'd be great if the Red Hot Chili Peppers give us a call. We'll go on tour with them.
No, you don't want to tour with them.
Who do we want to tour with, huh?
You're right. Maybe we don't want to tour with them. It might be horrible.
Who would I hate that question, but I'm happy to answer it. I don't think anyone should open for another band. I think your band is good enough that you grunt it out.
Yeah.
And you work your way up to headlining.
Yeah, that's that. You know what, Keith? That's a really good thing, good way to put it. And I think the general rule is work on selling out and having really good shows in your hometown first. And once you accomplish that, start reaching out to the other towns around you. And we're real close to getting to that point in Madison, and Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Chicago will be the next cities that we kind of start looking at and trying to do shows. But I couldn't agree with you more.
Come east.
And yeah, I mean, New York City.
Yeah.
I used to come east. I think, I used to tour a lot in a band I was in early on called Hum Machine. And we that's all we did is go out and play shows. Sometimes that was the only thing we did for a year or so. It was great. It's a different time now. I don't think bands can do it like you used to be able to do it.
No, I would imagine it's not. We're at time. I'm going to ask one question of each of you, one more. The name of the podcast is Abandoned Albums. Do you guys each, Eric, Christian, do you have an abandoned album? Now, what I mean by that is an album by an artist that you like, that didn't get enough recognition, or something that you know about that people should hear about. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I have a lot here, but I'm going to pull this one out because this is a great one that people need to know about. It's Neil Merriweather, Kryptonite.
Okay.
Yep.
Don't know anything about him.
That's why it's an abandoned album, because nobody knows anything about it.
And they're on Mercury, I see.
They are on Mercury, and Neil Merriweather did a lot of stuff, but he never quite got the, what he deserved. And he has 2 records, this one and Space Raiders, I think.
Wow.
But it's such a great record. It is a 70s like rock and roll, but it has got like such an aggressive like power to it. And every time I'm with somebody, I play them that record, they're like, who is that? And everybody buys it after I play it. It's one of those records like, everybody's like, I want to get that record. I love it. I discovered it because I worked at a record store and it just showed up and I thought the cover was cool. I'm like, this looks cool. I'm going to put it on.
That's my comment. Yeah. It's like that cover's not doing him any favors.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's not,
so
it's like cute, but it's not, if the music is hard and heavy. I don't know.
Well, right. So you see a cover like it's either going to be horrible or it's going to be amazing. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was amazing. It was amazing. So that's okay. So that's my abandoned record.
Duly noted. Christian?
There's a band I was in called Hors de Jour. And
say it again?
Hors de Jour.
Nice.
And I believe we picked up that band name from a Tragically Hip song as well. But it was a band that I was in with a bunch of Madison musicians. And we had like almost, I think, the whole record in the can. And then it just never it just stopped. People moved, things happened. Nobody, there wasn't like a fracas or anything like that. It just fizzled.
Do you still have it?
So the guitar player in the band is Travis Kasperbauer, and he's in San Francisco. He owns a place called Lucky Recording, and he reached out to me recently saying that he was getting his old hard drive and trying to like get it done. But the funny thing about the whole album is that we were playing a festival up in Door County called Steel Bridge, and it was like one of the first years that they did it. Pat McDonald from Timbuk 3 is from there, and he would do these songwriter like festival workshop thing to try to save this bridge from the 30s that's up in Door County, Sturgeon Bay. And so, but he's got all these friends, right? So Jackson Brown was there one year, and you know, a bunch of other people, but Jane Weedland was there from the Go-Go's, and she started this relationship with Travis at the time. And then she moved to Madison for a while and was like producing our band. And that band got to open up for the Go-Go's in Chicago at the House of Blues, which is just about the most amazing thing ever. But long story short, there's this whole record that kind of rules that's on Travis's hard drive. So hopefully that sees the light of day. Yeah.
It's Jane Weedland produced it.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Mr. Travis, if you're listening, find that.
Yeah. You know, so sounds like it's crawling out into the sunlight. Hopefully.
Guys, thank you again. I really like the record. I wish you nothing but continued success.
Thanks.
And thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
You bet.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I'm going to hit end real quick.
Many thanks to Eric and Christian for making the time to chat with us about the Flavor That Kills new album Secrits. Special thanks to Dana Gordon for making it happen.
This episode of Abandoned Albums was written and produced by Keith R. Higgins. The show was recorded at Thunderlove Studio, where it was engineered by
Daphne Morris,
with help from
Penetration.
Abandoned Albums was edited by
Vic Titball,
with help from
Clem Fandango.
Our theme song is Solo Flight by Charlie Christian. In the opening of the show, the songs you heard were The Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead by XTC, Never Say Never by Romeo Void, and The Walls Came Down by The Call. You can stream all of those artists wherever you stream your favorite music.
Original music by Mike Pellegrino.
The songs you heard during this podcast were A Million Billion Stars from Nevermind the Acorns, Nerve off of Secrits, and Snakes and Not of This World, also from the band's new album Secrits. You can stream The Flavors That Kill wherever you stream your favorite music. You can stream The Flavor That Kills wherever you stream your favorite music. We've got links to their work in the show notes. Please remember to support independent artists.
If you like what you've heard, please remember to subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps other people find the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Grazie.
Bailey Leaf,
Rob Janicki, Mike Pellegrino, Thurina Bella,
Eric Beatner, S.W. Loudon, Ronnie Barnett,
Michael Janicki, Peyton Janicki.
This show's executive producer is Lulu McGillicuddy and is in the loving memory of
Lucius Thunderlove.
Abandoned Albums receives funding from Damon Pharmaceuticals, the makers of Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is the only chewable tablet made to combat stomach unease associated with mediocrity. Taken daily, Ben Affleck can help combat explosive gastrointestinal shame. You can find a multitude of flavors in the incontinence section of your local pharmacy. Ben Affleck, save yourself the embarrassment.
The side effects include dry mouth, headache, anal leakage, muscle soreness, bad decisions, gender confusion, constipation, evil spirit possession, and banality. Use only as directed.
And now, until we meet again next time, I remain as always obediently yours.
Abandoned Albums is a production of Paw Print Media.